is my eager expectation and hope that I will not at all be ashamed, but that with full courage, now as always, Christ, who is God incarnate, Christ will be, now some of the translations are honored, magnified, will be made much of. Christ will be honored in my body, whether by life or by death. Okay, now pause there. What's his goal in life? That Christ be magnified in his body. When his body talks, when his body looks a face, makes a face, when his body stretches out its arms, when his body walks, everything he does in his body, I want Jesus to look good. That's the point. I want Christ to be honored, magnified, made great in the world. That's his goal, because that's the goal of the universe. I'd take an hour to defend that statement if this were a seminar, but we just sum it up. So here's his goal. I want Christ to be magnified. Now the next sentence begins with for and explains and underpins how can that be? How can Christ be magnified when you die and when you live? So I'm just going to take the die piece because it's the one that's clearest, okay? All right, let's see them both, though, as we read it. For to me to live, and that corresponds with whether by life, is Christ. And to die, and that corresponds to or by death in verse 20, is gain. Now, ponder with me. This is what we do at Bethlehem. We read text and then we ponder, meditate, think. My goal is that Christ be magnified. So that's the first half of Christian hedonism. God, or Christ, who is God, is most magnified in Paul when, okay, now where are you getting Paul is most satisfied in him? And I'm getting it from the word gain in death. So think with me. Paul says, I'm going to magnify Christ at any cost in my life and death. So I'm going to magnify him in my death. For to me to die is gain. Just think it through for a minute. How does that work? How is Christ made to look magnificent in the death of a human being? Answer, if the human being counts death gain. But now we're assuming something. We're assuming verse 23. I'm hard-pressed between the two, that is, living and dying. My desire is to depart and be with Christ. That's what death will mean for Paul. Okay, now we know what gain is. Gain is Christ. Gain is more of Jesus. Now I have his Spirit, but I live by faith and not by sight. I look through a mirror dimly now. I want him whole, clear, and crisp, and verbal, and tactile. I want all of him. And I want to be done with sinning so I can see him clearly. And Paul says, that's what happens when I die. And therefore, now, let me fill it out. I lose everything on the planet. If he were married, like I am, he would say, I'm going to lose my wife. I'm going to lose my children. I'm going to lose my grandchildren. I'm going to lose retirement plans. Whatever that is. I'm going to lose. Death means it's over. It's over. Everything you felt, everything you touched here is going away. There will be a resurrection someday, but death, you're being stripped of your body. This is very painful. And he says, when I consider all that I'm losing here, which was once gain to me, and gaining Christ, I say, such a deal. Which I just take to mean he's more satisfied in Jesus than he is the world. I don't know any other way to make sense out of gain. So, that's where I get it. Christ is more magnified in Paul's death because in death, Paul is more satisfied in Christ than anything. And that makes Christ look really